Welcome back to the Jack Colton Show. Today's guest is someone who looked death in the eye and walked away, not because he was lucky, but because he refused to quit. He's not a Navy SEAL, not an elite survivalist. He's a regular guy, a father of two, a small business owner. His name is Joel Harper. And just a year ago, he went down in a small aircraft in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness and somehow made it out alive. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jack. It's still hard to talk about, but yeah, I think I'm ready.
Let's go back to the beginning. You were flying a Cessna, right?
Yeah, a 1981 Cessna 182 Skyline. Four-seater, reliable little beast. I've flown it dozens of times. That morning, I left Fairbanks around 7:30 a.m. I was headed toward a client's lodge about 150 miles out, middle of nowhere, no real roads. I had about 3 hours of fuel, blue skies over the city, forecast looked clean.
And what changed?
About an hour in, I hit a cold front, fast. Visibility dropped, instruments started acting up, the artificial horizon was bouncing, and the oil temp needle crept higher. But the real killer was ice. It happened gradually. The wings started icing up, a thin sheen forming on the leading edge. At first, I thought I could climb above it, maybe get clear. But I was boxed in by clouds, terrain, and worsening visibility. Then, the engine started coughing, like a smoker in the middle of winter. I tapped the gauges, tried carb heat, nothing helped. Within minutes, I went from cruising to praying.
You were alone?
Yeah, thank God. I'd flown passengers before, clients, friends, but this trip, I was solo. I dropped altitude, looking for an opening, anything flat. Forest everywhere, no lakes, no clearings, and then the prop chest stopped.
Completely?
Dead. Silence. That sound, or lack of sound, I'll never forget it. You feel your heart pounding in your ears, but everything else goes still. I trimmed the nose, leveled out best I could, started gliding, scanning for a soft crash.
Did you find one?
No. I clipped a pine tree at maybe 70 knots, then another, and then it was like being inside a steel drum getting kicked down a mountain. The Cessna slammed nose first into the slope. I blacked out halfway through.
How long were you unconscious?
Maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. Hard to say. When I came to, it was smoke, thick, black, choking. The windshield was spiderwebbed. My head was bleeding, and I could hear a crackling sound. Fire.
The plane caught fire?
Yeah, the engine compartment must have ruptured. Flames were licking up the front, coming toward the cabin. I unbuckled, but my right leg was pinned under the seat frame. I thought, this is it, but adrenaline's a hell of a thing.
How did you get out?
I used my left elbow to smash the side window, just enough to squeeze my upper body through. Then I kicked, over and over. Eventually, the frame bent just enough. I pulled myself out, rolled down the hill, landed face first in the snow.
And the plane?
Gone. 10 minutes later, it was a bonfire. Everything inside, food, satellite phone, locator beacon, torched. All I had were the clothes on my back, a small folding knife, my lighter, and a half-chewed protein bar in my jacket pocket. No phone, no flares, no signal.
So now you're alone, injured, and in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness. What was your first move?
Survive the first night. I knew the temperature would drop and fast. My jacket was synthetic, not insulated. My jeans were soaked in snowmelt. So I started moving. Not running, just walking, trying to stay warm. Eventually, I found a thicket with fallen branches and dry pine needles.
You made a shelter?
Kind of. I jammed some branches between two low trees, made a crude lean-to, used my knife to cut bark and stuffed it under me to keep off the frozen ground. Then came the real test. Fire.
You had a lighter, right?
Yeah, but it was wet. I stuck it in my armpit for an hour while I gathered kindling. When I finally got a flame, man, it felt like I'd won the lottery. Just seeing that little fire flicker in the dark, it gave me hope. Kept me alive that night, no question.
Did you think help would come?
At first, yeah. I figured maybe someone picked up the Mayday. But after the second day, silence. No planes, no choppers, just the wind and the trees. That's when I knew if I was getting out, it'd be on my own legs.
You mentioned your leg was pinned in the crash. Were you injured?
Yeah, right ankle was twisted, maybe a hairline fracture. Couldn't put full weight on it for the first few days. So I limped, dragged it like dead weight. But worse than the leg was the cold.
How cold are we talking?
Nights dipped below 0 Fahrenheit. My beard froze. My fingers turned white at the tips. I had to sleep curled around that little fire like it was my only friend. During the day, I looked for food, anything.
What did you eat?
At first, just the protein bar. Broke it into crumbs to make it last. Then snowberries, pine bark, and eventually bugs. Yeah, I ate beetles. Roasted them on a stick. Tasted like dirt and copper.
How long did you survive like that?
4, 5 days? Hard to keep track. I started marking days on a piece of bark, scratching with a knife. By day 6, I knew I couldn't stay put. I had to move, find water, find shelter, find something. So I wrapped my ankle in a strip of t-shirt, packed up some coals and bark, and headed west.
How did you know which way was west?
I didn't, not at first. But I remembered where the sun had risen and set the past few days. Used to shadows, the slope of the terrain. Basic survival stuff I picked up from books and YouTube videos years ago. Crazy what sticks in your head when you need it.
So you just started walking?
Yeah. I followed a narrow ridgeline, hoping for higher ground. Sometimes I find animal tracks, moose, fox. I'd follow them, figuring they knew the land better than I did. But mostly it was trees. Endless, freezing trees.
Were you scared?
More than scared. I felt invisible, like the forest could swallow me whole and no one would ever know. I talked to myself just to hear a human voice, sing songs I barely remembered. Anything to stay sharp, to stay me.
Did you ever consider giving up?
There were moments, yeah, when my hands were too numb to start a fire, when I hadn't eaten in 2 days, when I saw bear tracks the size of dinner plates. Yeah, I thought about just laying down. But then I think about my kids, their faces, and I'd keep walking.
Did you ever find anything man-made out there?
On the 9th day, I stumbled across a rusted tin can, just sitting in the dirt, half buried under moss. I almost cried. It meant someone had been there. Maybe not recently, but still. I searched the area and found part of a broken trail. Old footprints, maybe a trapper's route.
So that gave you hope?
Big time. I followed it. Led me through a ravine, then up toward a frozen creek bed. That night, I found a hollowed-out stump, dry enough to sleep in. Best sleep I'd had in days, even with the snow falling.
You mentioned a bear earlier. Did you ever encounter one?
Yeah, day 11. I was chewing on a piece of bark when I heard the crunch. Looked up, massive grizzly, maybe 40 feet away. It wasn't charging, just watching.
What did you do?
Didn't move, didn't breathe. Held my knife, even though I knew it'd be useless. After a minute, maybe 2, it turned and walked off. I collapsed, full body shake. Thought that was it for me.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, but in some weird way, it reminded me I was alive.
How was your body holding up at this point?
Not great. I'd lost maybe 15 pounds already. My ankle was still swollen. My fingertips were cracked and bleeding from cold exposure. I had blisters on my lips, and I was starting to hallucinate.
Hallucinate?
Yeah, I saw my wife standing in the trees, heard my daughter calling my name. At one point, I swore I smelled coffee. Rich, hot, fresh brewed coffee, in the middle of nowhere. I started crying. It messes with you, being alone that long. The silence becomes something alive.
Were you still finding food?
Barely. I managed to spear a fish with a sharpened branch on day 12. Miracle shot. It was tiny, but it gave me protein, a second wind. That fish probably saved my life.
And water?
Snowmelt. Cold, clean, endless, but also dangerous. Too much cold water lowers your core temp. I learned to sip slowly, let it warm in my mouth. Small things make a difference when you're that close to the edge.
You said 16 days total.
Yeah. On day 15, I saw chimney smoke. I thought I was hallucinating again, but I followed it, 2 hours through deep brush, and found it.
What did you find?
A cabin. Old, wooden, built solid, like it had stood for decades. No lights, no vehicles around, just smoke drifting from the chimney. I knocked. No answer. So I walked around back, found the stack of firewood and the plastic water barrel.
Was anyone there?
Not at first. I waited maybe half an hour trying not to fall apart. Then an old man came up the trail, rifle slung over his back, wearing snowshoes. Looked like he hadn't seen another human in months.
What did he say?
He stared at me for a long second, then said, "You look like hell." I laughed, actually laughed, collapsed right there in the snow.
Did he help you?
Absolutely. Name was Hank, retired wildlife biologist. He let me in, gave me soup, dry clothes, even a radio. We called for help. 2 days later, a chopper picked me up.
What was the first thing you did when you got home?
I hugged my kids so hard they complained. Then I slept for like 20 hours straight, and the next day I sat in my backyard, just sat and listened to nothing. No wind, no trees, no fear, just peace.
16 days in the wild. Joel, how did it change you?
Completely. Before the crash, I was always on my phone, always running late, always chasing something. Money, status, the next goal. But out there, none of that mattered. Just breath, warmth, one more day.
Do you see the world differently now?
Yeah. I appreciate small things. Hot water, a warm meal, voices. I don't ignore my kids when they ask questions. I don't postpone things like I used to. And I've let go of a lot of fear. Because once you've faced real silence, the kind where no one's coming, you realize what actually matters.
Would you ever fly again?
Funny you ask. I got my Cessna rebuilt. Not the same plane, but same model. Took her up 2 weeks ago. Different now, though. I fly lower, slower, more grateful.
Joel Harper, survivor, father, and one hell of a storyteller. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jack. And if anyone listening ever ends up out there, alone, scared, remember this. You don't have to be a hero. You just have to take one more step. Then another, then another.
And that's it for today's episode. If Joe's story taught us anything, it's that the human spirit is tougher than we think, even when everything else is lost. Thanks for listening. And remember, sometimes survival starts with just taking one more step. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time on The Jack Colton Show.